This episode of Lawyers Tell All is brought to you by Law Firm Conversions. If your law firm's phone is ringing, that only means your marketing is successful. It's what happens when the phone is answered that will drive your success or failure. Visit www.intakeacademy.com and claim your free copy of this groundbreaking book, along with resources on mental health for intake specialists and empathy. Plus, become eligible to receive a free 15-minute consult with Chris Mullins. Welcome to the Lawyers Tell All podcast, where Chris Mullins, the preeminent sales and communications consultant in the legal industry, shows you how it looks through lawyers' eyes. Here, innovators in the trenches provide powerful insights that help you connect with new clients, handle the sometimes harsh realities of the legal profession, and embrace the mindsets needed to succeed. Be sure to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, lean in, tune in, and let's take a deep dive.
Hello, everyone. It's Chris Mullins with Lawyers Tell All, and today I am interviewing Pooya Abka, and I'm going to let Pooya tell you about himself.
Thank you, Chris. My name is Pooya. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Intaker, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Chris, I started Intaker in 2019. Today, we serve just under 2,000 law firms across the U.S., Canada, and a little bit Australia. And we have a team of 50 really talented folks, engineers, folks in sales, customer success, an amazing product team. And the company's growing, the customer base is growing, and we have a bunch of super kind of exciting AI features that we're kind of currently serving our clients with, and we're adding a whole bunch. That would be my very short spiel for the company.
Okay, and so I'm going to ask you about AI in a moment, but how did this whole thing happen? What happened? Where did this come from?
It's actually a rather kind of a funny story. It all started at we worked the co-working space that kind of went down. Intakers pretty much started there. I was with my co-founder, same co-founder that I have now. But at that time, we were working on a different project. The project was something to do with AI, but a different kind of, not like large language models. It was, if you want to call it small language models, where AI is not really capable of responding to intents and inquiries, kind of anything in the world. It was like, hey, you would train AI to be kind of an expert in a certain area, and then AI can have conversations in that area. It's very specific. It's somewhere in between LLMs today and like kind of decision trees, right? So we're working on that startup. It wasn't really working out, but we're kind of barely making it. And there was a lawyer I met at the WeWork, at the co-working space, that we were neighbors, and this lawyer was like kind of started this firm 6 months back, and he was always on the phone with the kind of potential clients. He was, I think, buying leads from Alvo, Super Lawyers, those kind of platforms. Yeah. And then at the time, I had no clue about this word. I didn't know. I always say it. I didn't know the difference between IP and PI. So I was kind of not even, never ever hired a lawyer in my life, right? So this guy was like kind of talking on the phone 45 minutes, mostly to tell people they don't have a case. And my problem was like kind of next door. I was trying to work, focus, code, those things. I couldn't, because in WeWork, the between offices, there are like some glass walls, and it's like it's literally like if someone's talking in the office next door, it's like they're talking right here. So what I did, I took the guy out for lunch, and I was like, "Hey, I can't work, and if you want to keep going that way, I need to go talk to the staff here and then kind of move my office." But I love my office. But the guy started talking about his pain points, and it was like, "Hey, I'm screening these folks, and like, hey, most of the time I'm wasting my time. I feel like I need to go back, work for another kind of law firm that knows how to generate leads. I can't get good leads." And it's like, I see that sounds like a problem that most businesses could potentially have. But at the end of that lunch, instead of me solving my problem, I started solving his problem, meaning I created certain links for the guy that he could send out over text message to folks and kind of get those leads screened before hopping on a phone call, which was kind of interesting. He was very happy with these links, and I kind of solved his problem. I didn't solve mine because he was having conversations, but he was having good conversations. So it's eventually we moved, but I think this was a spark. And then there was another lawyer in that WeWork, and he came to me and was like, "Hey, I know this guy was telling me about what you built, and maybe I know a bunch of friends from law school, and it's like, I don't know if you want to turn this into something like a product and potentially offer it to them." And then we had some other thoughts about like kind of the doing something like this. We've talked about this with my co-founder, so I called him. I was like, "Hey, do you want to do something? It seems like the market's speaking." And he was like, and it was, I'm not gonna bore you with all the details, but the issue was that it wasn't working out, and I was interviewing to go work for other like kind of big tech companies, and this was like kind of the last thing we wanted to try before kind of calling it and say, "Hey, this entrepreneur journey is not working out really for us." But good thing it actually worked out.
That's awesome. I love that story. That's really, really good. I'm glad I asked you about that. Awesome. Good for you. Okay. AI, what can we do today?
It's very interesting. I think the debate is going on every conference these days I go to, every time just a few lawyers gather, I can guarantee one of the things they talk about is like, "Hey, AI, so are they going to take our jobs? Are they going to come in and help us?" People have different opinions on it. But the way that I approach it is like, "Hey, let's try to see what we can do today to get ahead, today, tomorrow, next week. What are some of the stuff that we can do now?" And then I think the number one thing is communication. A lot of the problems that firms have are to do with communications. And I'm not just going to say a lot of problems. Every time there's a problem, there's also an opportunity, right? So you have these opportunities to, number one, solve your problems. Number two, get ahead of everybody else. And I think it's incredibly powerful. In AI today, I think in communications, a lot in texting, a lot of opportunity in texting to automate texting to make sure and then most people think like, "Hey, this is a save money play." Like, "Oh yes, I have a great call center, and I get it. I have a great call center. They're amazing. The cases are worth it. Why automate things? I don't want to save money at this point." But it's not about saving money. It's not just about saving money. It's also about creating a predictable process that works, and eventually being able to compete with folks that in 2 years, like before you know it, they create operations, they create processes, they create systems that you just can't, if you don't jump on the train today, you just can't compete with them at that point. Every conversation they have is perfect. Every conversation costs cents on the dollar. It's like you just can't. And then all that money they save, they pour it back on marketing, and then they generate more stuff. And then, but again, all of these platforms, they're marketplaces, right? If LSAs, if local service ads become more expensive, then and there are a bunch of companies who can afford paying more expensive leads. Then if someone is like kind of sits back today and say, oh, we're good, we don't need to change, we don't need to, then they're not going to be able to compete in 2 years when the cost per lead is double what it is today. So these are kind of the backstory. But about things, texting, I think it's a great space. Voice, I personally don't think the technology is ready, but we're getting there over the next number of months, or maybe the coming year in 2025. At some point, we're going to have great voice AI that could potentially be used. But texting today is already, it's like we're serving hundreds of our clients with texting AI. That's like, hey, if someone reaches out to their firm over texting, AI agent responds back, has a conversation, and it's not like a decision tree, like press one for whatever, or just tell me in one word what do you want to talk about. It's not about that. It can have a meaningful conversation with folks and get them to the finish line, pretty much.
Give some examples of the texting that you're talking about, like the examples of the texting and like the different ways to use it.
Yeah. So when someone, like, imagine someone goes, I'm going to start from like kind of ground level, right? So someone's on the website, they're seeing a bunch of different options. They can call, they can text, or they can use the chat. These are the main three ways. Or they can do fill-in forms, like those kind of the traditional forms. The conversion is so low on them. At some point, I even stopped talking about it. But these are the main four ways people can reach out. One of the avenues is texting, right? The text us or text me or text our business kind of widget that you see on people's sites. When they click on that texting on their phone, they're taken automatically to the texting app on their mobile phone. So they change the medium to there. And then they hit, a text is pre-populated there, and then they hit send. And then at that point, I think the magical thing about texting is once they send that text, you already have their phone number. And that's very important in the world of lead capture, right? You want to have that phone number as soon as you can. So with the thing about texting, it's very similar to phone calls. It's not like you need to have a conversation and kind of get them engaged and then ask for a phone number. Once they send it, you have their phone number and you know it's their cell. More important, you know it's their cell. So the way that it works is you take them to that texting app, Android, Apple, doesn't matter. You take them to that texting app, they send that message. Once that message is sent, this is an inbound message, right? You know better than anyone. You could respond within 2 seconds, you could respond within 2 minutes, or a few hours later, right? If this text is going to a system that's like someone's not on it constantly, or you haven't hired an answering service to pay a lot of money for, it's one of the biggest problems. And most people think, we were talking about it right before the podcast. Most people think, oh, we get to them within 15 minutes. Oh, we get to them within 30 minutes. That is not good enough. That's right.
That makes me crazy.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, 5 minutes, even 5 minutes. It's like if someone's waiting, you got to think about it this way. If someone has, I have my phone here. I sent someone a text, and this is an important matter. I'm not sending a text to my brother or sister or whatever. I'm texting about something. That immediate response, though, every minute that you're waiting, you're basically increasing the chance of that person getting out of that app, getting out of the texting app, and then continuing the shopping process. Like, oh, yes, that was the first one I sent a text to. Now let me go to the second one on that directory or on Google and send them a text to them. And the firm that responds back the fastest, the firm that responds back within 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 2 seconds, half a second, they are more likely. I mean, there are so many studies about this. They are most likely to sign that client on. Like that's the number one factor. It's 70% of the game is to get back to the client faster than anybody else, right?
Right.
This is so on texting. There's so many like kind of the AI can help. Number one, set it up, make it perfect, forget about it. Right? Everybody loves that. Every decision maker, business owner loves that. Number two, really beat anything else in terms of speed to lead. There's nothing else that you can do to make it faster. You know, the next step would be predicting what the client has in mind and going and kind of, understanding their intents before they even reach out. That would be the next technology. But today, this is the fastest it can be. That's one area, texting. The other area is analysis and kind of making decisions on the spot without kind of much interference. And that's like, hey, telling AI, a lead is coming in. And today, we're serving clients about this. A lead comes in, analyze the parameters of the lead. Hey, statute of limitation, jurisdiction, all those kind of parameters are fine. Now, instructing AI on what's good, what's bad, and letting AI not drafting, but creating, like working on a template, a retainer, add all those missing fields, creating a retainer and present it to the clients, again, within seconds. So it's like, oh, someone comes in, I'm going to walk you through the whole process. Someone comes in, they send the text or they do the chat, they do like reach out in a written form. You have the parameters. They tell you what state they're coming from, if they were at fault, if they were not at fault. They tell you all about those parameters. And we're talking about PI, but this could apply to any other case type too, right? But we talk about all these. They talk about all these parameters with the system, and at the end of it, the system takes 2 seconds to analyze it based on your instructions, based on the lawyer's instructions. Like, hey, this is a good case, this is a bad case, right? Or this is an unqualified case. And then it does the magic, and it generates the retainer, right? Right there. Seconds. Some people are going to sign it. Some people are not going to sign it. Here's the catch. If they don't sign it, it also shoots a call to the firm, right? And asks the firm if they're ready to have a conversation with this person that already has a retainer in their inbox, right? And if the firm presses 1, then it calls the client. The client has already given information. There's already a ready retainer. It's just someone on the phone telling them basically do the closing. Like everything is kind of ready, So if you think about it, it's about speed to lead, saving time, also analyzing, moving fast, not only on the very first step, but also along the way, like in all those kind of, in the client lifecycle, you have gaps in between. People jump around, right? You have the first time they get engaged to submit an inquiry, and then you have the phone call, and then there are a bunch of things, right? But there are gaps in between. I think AI can help a lot in filling those gaps and making sure the whole process, the velocity in kind of moving through all these steps is kind of fast as it can be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes 100% sense. I'm just gonna look at the time just to make sure that I don't lose track here. So I'm gonna ask you a few things and decide which one is the most important right now. Is what about the emotional conversation? So empathy and some relationship building with everything that you just said. What about that?
Yeah, so empathy is a very important factor, especially in this industry, right? Specifically in this industry, you want the empathy to be there. You don't want to compensate, kind of have like something that's super duper fast, but then eventually you end up compensate with empathy. There are areas that you can even take empathy to next level, right? And we're always thinking about what are we competing with? If you're deploying AI in a process, right, and you are kind of replacing it with the managing partner themselves, right? They're on the phone. It's very hard. They're introducing themselves. Their name is on the door, right? It's incredibly hard to compete with that. But I think the folks we're talking about today are the ones who already have scaled into like, hey, the main person is not doing it anymore. However, there are areas with automation. Like, for example, I don't know if you've seen our video or not. There are areas with automation, and the way that we started, we empathy is pretty much in our roots, that we know that problem exists. So when we started Intaker, after just I think about a year, we added an element called the interactive video, right? So when people they go to the site, that's how people know us most. When you go to someone's website and they're using Intaker, you're going to see a video of the managing partner,
Oh, right.
right? And they're talking about their services and they're talking about why someone should take action today. And that's not just at the beginning. It's also at the very end when they submit it, the managing partner comes in,
Yeah.
they do their best kind of performance, and they tell everyone what's going to happen next, what are the steps we need to take, and how, like, basically to stop shopping because you're in good hands, right? So that's just one example of using, you see, the ultimate way is to talk to the managing partner, to the owner, but bringing that owner into the automation and the process while they are not even, they're not even engaged. That's part of the game. In specifically in AI, there is, I think time will prove that the technology is incredibly powerful in bringing empathy into the game. Because if you think about it, there are a lot of when AI is going to be, it can be instructed into like the tone. I'll give you an example. In our AI texting feature, in the process of configuration, you can define the kind of tone that you want the AI to have. If you want to have a concise, kind of to the point, if you want it to be a little bit more casual, if you want it to be strictly formal, it basically, the voice of AI is going to be the voice of the brand. You can even take it further. You can go in and say, hey, here are 10 examples or 5 examples or 2 examples of the way we like to treat clients or potential clients. Like, here are, these happens, and this is how I want my clients or my potential clients to be treated when these things happen, when they're unhappy, when the sentiment of the conversation goes down. You can instruct it in a way to do exactly how you want to do, and nothing else is going to change that. Like, it's going to follow the instruction the way you do. So the technology, it will take some time for people to actually trust it. But I think once people see the magic, once they see the incredible strength in following instructions and never ever going kind of in other places, the trust is going to be built pretty much very quickly.
And you're doing this now with Intaker? What you're saying?
Yeah, we are. No, you are. Yeah, we are. Like, you could go in and you can set up like an agent that basically activates. We're even doing it for local service ads. So we have AI agents that respond to message leads with local service ads. So if someone reaches out through message leads, our AI agents will respond back. I have a funny story about something that happened through LSAs. I think there was a lead that reached out, and I think it was 1 a.m. or something, and this was early on when we were kind of monitoring everything. This was we rolled this feature out last year. The client told the AI that it was like 1 a.m., right? I was like, hey, I don't know who you are and why you're working now, but your boss needs to know you deserve a raise. And it was like, when I saw that, and
that should be a commercial.
yeah, it's insane.
It should be a commercial. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's insane. It's 100% truth. It's
giving me
insane.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I got goosebumps when I saw it. I was like, hey, I can already see that, maybe not for this, but I can already see the future is. It's actually very interesting to see all these actions on this side, like seeing these thousands of AI conversations. It's really it's moving to some degree, and it's like, hey, I can already see how the world is changing very quickly. And we saw that, and at that point I was like, all right, this is pretty much. And the tech is also getting better by the day. It's like it's not a single day that we don't hear something in the news like, hey, this company improved this. It's not even, you know what? It's not even a single day, and maybe not across one company, but across all the companies, there's always an AI improvement on a daily basis, either on
Yeah,
the
right. Yeah,
chips, hardware, like in
right.
the software, and the way that in the models, there's a new model every week.
Yeah, yeah,
So, you
yeah.
know,
It's exciting. So what about this? What about uh so the text, the whole thing that you just gave, the whole story, but the person doesn't sign right then and there. And you told a story about that, but how about before I guess you could say, gets to the live person potential? How about AI tries to close it? How about, you know what I mean? So how about AI is like, well, let me just take a moment and tell you just a little bit about our firm or something, you know what I mean? So what do you think about that? Or does it already do
I think
that?
we're definitely moving there. I think that we're definitely moving. It's the way that I see it is like we know and we're excited about things that AI can do, but then there's also this other thing about what firms will. We have to be realistic about what how hard it is for us to um, educate and try to kind of get people to try these new stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we have this kind of smart analogy. We try to call it smart,
Mhm.
whatever that means, to say, hey, we're gonna push. We're gonna. It's like it's pretty much like walking through this whole process and then kind of running or jogging or walking, you know? We're kind of walking, especially in this industry, because
Yeah.
there are risks involved, there are
Mhm.
compliance risks involved, and we need to kind of step by step, we need to figure them out, right? Step by step that our customers, they need to figure it out. I
Yeah.
personally don't have any doubts about like kind of I have no doubt we're gonna get there, and zero,
Mhm. Yeah.
precisely
Right.
zero doubts that we're gonna get there. I don't exactly know if that's gonna be in a year, in 18 months, or maybe 2 years. It's probably not gonna be longer than that. But I
Mhm.
think the mainstream firm is going to be kind of having these features all the way to close within the next 2 years. And then I think we're going to be one of the very first. We already do some of it, like the auto retainer stuff. We do it through not, we do it through decision trees. We don't do it through specifically AI. We actually use AI in analysis and decision making in that. And if
Mhm.
anyone's interested, they should reach out to Intaker and see like kind of it, because it's
Yeah.
very visual. They need to see how it
Yeah.
works. But in
Mhm.
terms of AI having a conversation over text or over voice about closing a client, I think we're going to get there in about a year or two.
Yeah.
In on the texting side, we're ready. It can be done. It's not difficult. It's just the customers that have to trust. On the voice side, I think there are some improvements that need to happen in tech
Yeah.
before we can
Yeah.
make it work. But I don't think those improvements will take 10 years. I think we're going to have a native voice agent that works perfect over the next 6 months to a year, if that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah. That's exciting. Okay, let me just see. I wanted to just rewind for a minute earlier when you were laying out the whole texting process, and then it can even get to the live intake person, to call that person back, right? Or the whole
yeah,
the whole thing is automated, right?
automatically triggers. Yeah.
Yeah. And we talked about speed to lead. What do
Yeah.
you say to the law firms that say, oh, well, I can't, I mean, we could try to get someone there, like speed to lead, but I don't know if we can do it. We don't have enough team members to do it. You know what I mean? Like, what do you say to those law firms that are just, oh, and I don't get enough leads to have a full-time person available to do it. What would you say to those law firms?
I think, frankly, if someone doesn't have a full-time person today, they are, it might sound crazy, but I think they're in an advantage going through this transition, because the law firm that has bunch of team members already, like they need to go through some painful process to get adjusted to the new world.
Mhm.
But if someone is starting from scratch, or if someone doesn't have a lot of team members, they need to have that mentality of delegation and do that and trusting others to get things done. However, they can start building things with lots and lots of automation without having to deal with the pain points of kind of having a team already and trying to kind of, having some systems in place and like kind of having to adjust into. It's like the example I give is like, hey, if you imagine that it's 2009 and 2010 and there are two companies, and there's one company that has 1,000 employees and they bought BlackBerries for every single one of them. And imagine this other company. And then this other company, and that doesn't, they don't have BlackBerries. They're shopping for the next phone. Which one do you think is going to have an easier time buying the iPhone? Right? So the people are used to using BlackBerries. They're going to get so much pushback, and then eventually, but people thought that, hey, they're going to be very good at responding back to emails, but there are a whole bunch of other world of running Excel sheets on phones that they can't benefit from until, I don't know, half that company fights it back, and it takes a process. And I think that's the advantage. That's what I mean by advantage. And that's the advantage that the company that doesn't have any phone or doesn't provide phone has today, because then they can start building with the new rules. They can build their systems with the new rules that are way more efficient, way more effective, way less costly. So I would say they're in an advantage, but they have to move fast. The big guys are not gonna, they've seen the BlackBerry stories. They know they don't want to become the AOLs of the world. They want to there are a bunch of companies that move through, those managing partners, owners are pretty smart. So they have the smaller folks that are kind of growing. They have a window, I think. The big folks, they're not going to just watch. They're going to be making dramatical they're going to revolutionize their practices to make sure they can adjust to the new systems.
This is true. Well, I'm of the belief system that intake is a sales team, whether inbound or outbound or both, and it should be 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just all the time. And not to answering services and call centers, to as much automation as possible and AI as possible. And then where not, it's your own team working virtual. There's no need to have answering services and call centers. You might as well just have your own virtual team.
Yeah. No, you need your own team, no doubt. Even with lots and lots of AI, you need an intake team, no doubt. But maybe you don't need the call center. Maybe you don't need that answering service. Maybe you don't need that outside service that you use, and you can do it way better than the outside service.
Right, exactly.
But you just need to they just need to adjust. It's
Yeah. So any last words for everyone? How can you want to remind them about that?
Again, super duper excited to be here. I'm personally, I feel extremely lucky to be a part of this kind of transition, like this paradigm shift that the world is going through, and then kind of having like leading a company that's kind of at a cutting edge of in one industry at a cutting edge of pushing things forward. I'm extremely excited and really pumped up about this whole experience. I wanna thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about these things. And if anyone wants to learn more about Intaker, go to intaker.com. That's INTAKER.com, and reach out. We'd love to chat.
Super. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was a good time.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Lawyers Tell All, where Chris Mullins takes you on a journey with lawyers in the trenches who show you the realities of what it takes to succeed in this chaotic, crowded, ever-changing profession. Remember to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on Lawyers Tell All.